Hello everybody and welcome back to the Jack Threlfall Show Sports.com Monaco series. We're here after the Grand Prix with Tamer Hassan, ambassador of Sports.com. How's your week been so far, Tamer? Been pretty awesome, eh?
Good. It's been really good. I'm exhausted, but it's been good. We achieved what we needed to achieve.
For sure.
I'm sure we're going to get into that further down the line. But yeah, it's been good. I'm tired. I could do with a little nap. We started off in Cannes, as you know. We did 2 days in Cannes. We launched down in Cannes. Held some parties there. It was meant to be a soft launch, but it's turned into a monster, as you can imagine it would. And then we moved down to Cannes, to Monte Carlo for the F1, and it's been non-stop.
And you're a new fan to Formula One, right?
I'm relatively new, yeah. I'm probably one of those F1 fans that before Lewis Hamilton, and I can say that, I mean, listen, Schumacher and all those guys were there, but I think for us, Brits, as I would say, before Hamilton's excitement, we would just kind of sit and watch the telly.
Yeah.
And it would just be, as you probably can imagine, and I'm sure a lot of people that watch this will say exactly the same thing, not knowing too much about tyre changing, pit stops, speed, car, defaults, the technical side of it, you don't really want to get into. I think most sports fans just want to watch and see who wins and loses. Mm-hmm. When it gets too technical, like chess and stuff like that, people are like, oh, God, it's not for me. You know, even if you can't play it, you don't understand it. But Formula One's cool, isn't it? So we all kind of want to say, yeah, we're Formula One fans, but we're really not. But I have, just getting back to that, I have started, and I haven't watched Race for Your Life, is it?
Drive to Survive.
Drive to Survive, Race for Your Life, close.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that, and everybody who's watched it, a lot of people I know are literally obsessed with Formula One after watching that.
For sure.
And stats, this, that, names, blah, 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 you know, all of that stuff they kind of get into. And I haven't even watched that, but I'm very fortunate to have met someone like you, who's a wizard around F1 motor. I bet you probably...
You can say geek, I don't mind.
No, geek, but geeks are cool. Geeks are really cool.
Yeah. I play chess too. So,
yeah, well, that's super geeky and that's cool. But look, I mean, you could probably tell us what spark plugs they use. You know what I mean? That's how probably into you. And I'm very fortunate that I know people that are in the auto business, sports, rallies, car rallies. I do a lot of sort of car rallying myself, road rallying and stuff. So I'm very fortunate. I'm lucky enough to be able to be invited to these races.
Sure.
See, the glitz and the glamour's one thing, but now speaking to people like you, getting more heavily involved with the sport, I'm starting to understand it and really like it and really enjoy it. Yeah.
And am I right, if we look back across the history of sport and how it's played a role in your life, am I right in saying that started with boxing as a young man back in London?
I suppose you could, boxing, because I started boxing at a very young age, but my parents, well, I was a bit of a rebel tearaway, growing up in a racist society. It was always tough for us, and I was never this big, imposing man. I was short, chubby, pure white, with loads of hair on my head. You know? Right. And I just you get picked on a lot. And then my mum took me to judo. To start with, that didn't work out because I still kept fighting, and then she took me to boxing. A fellow called Ginger May, who, if everybody's watched the Rocky movies, he was like Mickey. He was that old school, solid, roll up in his mouth, could do 100 sit-ups, no problem. And he instilled discipline into us, which gave me the love for sport, and I've always wanted to be a sports star. Yeah. To say the least. Footballer, I wanted to be a professional footballer, but I got a scholarship and went to Asks, Haberdashers Asks. Unfortunately, there was no football there. We had cricket, athletics and rugby. So I turned my hand to rugby. I was very good at rugby. I played rugby for a long time, cricket. Yeah. Athletics I wasn't too good at. I'm going to be straight with you. I was crap at athletics and crap at swimming. Right. And considering we run and we train hard as boxers, I hated track and field. I was so crap at it.
Not jump rope for you then?
Well, jump rope, I'm great, you know, anything like that. But any athletics, competitive race or whatever it was, javelin, throwing, I tried all of it. I was just rubbish. I just wasn't good at it. I just really wasn't good at it. But cricket I was okay, rugby I was good, boxing I was good, and football was all right.
For sure. And in terms of being a fan of sport, right? That's what we're kind of here. I'm a huge fan of Formula One. To experience that has been incredible.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying Milwall Football Club is that's your team, that's your home, that's been a big part of what your kinship with sport over your life, to be a part of that sort of fan community?
Yeah. I grew up in New Cross. I'm a great believer of supporting your local team, and a lot of us lower league clubs. We appreciate. We're probably never going to win.
No, I'm a Wycombe Wanderers guy.
Right. So, but we enjoy a day out. We're happy to get into the playoffs. We can get to Wembley and have a day out. We're happy, and all of us have us lower league supporters. We have a Premiership club, and we have like a Spanish club, and my Spanish club's Real Madrid.
Sure.
The Premiership. I go to Chelsea. I've been going to Chelsea a lot to watch them, but I own semi-pro football clubs. I'm just a football madman. So for me, I'll go anywhere and watch a game of football. As I got older, I become fans of players.
Yeah.
The great players in our league, Gaza, all of those. So wherever Gaza went, I'd go. And if Gaza was playing for a team that was playing against my team, I'd be happy to go and watch Gaza. I'd follow these players around. But yeah, football was my I've always wanted to be a pro footballer.
Yeah.
Never good enough though.
Sure.
But I always wanted to be a pro footballer, like probably most kids.
Absolutely.
Era.
So growing up in kind of sport, then trying to find that kind of way to push that energy into something that wasn't, maybe being out on the streets or getting into trouble. Was sport almost, you mentioned like your old boxing trainer, right? Kind of allowing you to channel that energy into something productive. I'm interested to know then, when acting came into your life as a path, was that something, not something that you grew up thinking, this is what I'll dedicate my life to? When was that first stage came in? When did you kind of discover that that was also something you were good at, and something that could also bring a similar kind of joy to your life?
I never wanted to be an actor. We kind of came from the wrong side of the tracks. I don't want to go too much into detail with it, but being in front of the camera wasn't an option for us. It was like, steer away from cameras and and you keep your mouth shut, and whatever it is. Acting came a long way after.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we all have an entertainer inside us.
Mm-hmm.
As much as people say I'm a geek and I'm this and that, it takes a certain talent to do what you're doing, and a certain confidence to do what you're doing. And I've always been the entertainer of some sort. I was very kind of shy-ish when I was a kid, but I remember quite vividly, I don't remember a lot of my childhood, but I remember quite vividly, my mum put some mad John Travolta suits on me with flares on, and I'm dancing to kung fu fighting and stuff. So I think I always had a little bit of that in me. But I remember when we was watching football when we was kids, we couldn't afford to go watch the game. And years ago, you probably remember, at half time they'd open the gates so you can go in.
Right.
And it was all the terraces, and there was a hill around the back of Milwall called Du Bois Hill. And I remember we used to go up the hill and watch the game. And I always used to stand there thinking, look at this. It was like a gladiatorial arena for me.
Yeah.
I mean, they go into battle and have all these people just screaming, chanting their name. And I always remember I wanted to be a somebody.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's on the wrong side of the tracks, or whether that's in the entertainment industry, singing, whatever business, I always aspired to be better than the next person, or better than myself. And I always felt that, even when I was a kid. I remember my mum used to make us queue, and I used to look, we should be queuing. Right. Do you understand? Not that it's bad for business. It's not that I think I'm above everyone. I need to explain it. Yeah, I need to explain this the right way. I love people. You've been around me. You see how warm I am with people, especially fans and stuff. I always give everyone time. So, and I'm a humanitarian, so it's that side of it wasn't. But vividly, I remember growing up wanting to be a somebody. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to be leave my mark on this planet any way I can. And that was probably, without subconsciously manifesting that. Because when you're kids, you subconsciously manifest, but you don't even manifest, but it comes to you. Yeah. People talk about manifestation now, but when you was a kid, you'd open a Freeman's car, I wish I had that bike. Before you know it, the bike's there. And how did you get it? You don't know. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So I believe in the power of that. So later on in life, I become an entrepreneur. with clubs, restaurants, football clubs. Again, couldn't work for no one. My mum knew at a very, very young age that I couldn't take orders.
Giving them.
Now, giving them, yeah, better, we're a team.
Yeah.
Better advising, better passing advice. I don't like to tell anyone what to do. But I've been like that. If you come up to me and you ask me something, I'll advise you. I won't ever tell you.
Okay.
And it's up to you to take that advice. Do you know what I mean? If you choose to, then that's it. But I could never be told what to do. So I could never. If I was in the army, if there was national service back in the UK, I'd have been court-martialed and I'd probably shot.
Yeah.
I'd have probably been shot because I just couldn't do what I'm told to do. So my mum quickly see that in me, and by the age of 12, I was a market stall trader with my mum. She used to take me in and bring me back. So, and then I had nightclubs, restaurants and stuff, and then we was doing really well. And then I invested in an acting agency, because I thought it was cool and sexy, you know what I mean? And I got asked to go for an audition at EastEnders. And I was like, really? I don't know about acting. And then, a couple of the guys so we had some actors from country my clubs and stuff, and they just said, well, go, you might enjoy yourself, And I did, and I loved it. And here I am, I don't know, 50, 60 titles in, 27 years in the business.
Incredible.
And I think I'm good at it, because
many people would agree.
I think I'm good at it, and I was untrained. And, I believe it takes, I've been told this by many greater actors, way greater than me, and probably greater than I could ever be, but the older generation, the Michael Caine's, the Bob Hoskins, God rest his soul, and he was like my Hollywood dad. He taught me a lot and showed me a lot. We did a film together, me, him, Morgan Freeman, Jet Li, many years ago. It was about my third film or something, and he took me under his wing, and I'm very self-critical, and I think actors that didn't go to drama school are very self-critical, because there is a process, and you can't be a doctor if you don't go to medical school. And it's the same. It's that kind of, we all have a little bit of entertainment, like I said earlier, but it's definitely an art. You have to go and study your art. It's a craft. It's an art. And because we didn't, and I went into it so quickly and got quite successful very soon, I was worried about it. And Bob Hoskins was on our way back from Toulouse and was on the train. He was very down to earth, he was, and I said, I need to go to drama school. So what for? I said, because I think I'm there to find out. He went, you got to drama school now, so it's going to ruin you. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, your not knowing makes you fearless. He said, but go and tread the boards, do a bit of theatre, so I sort some men out from the boys. And he goes, it takes over 20 years to be an actor.
Because to me, stage is a different game to being in front of the camera. To present to a live audience, there's that memorization, the one chance, right? It's almost closer to live telly, right? Because you're in that mode. For most people's first recognition of you, what became kind of you an iconic character in British culture would be Football Factory, right?
I think so.
When we look back on that film, it's a sort of canonical element.
I love the way you say "we." Is that your era?
But looking back on it, look, I'm a football fan, and I know it's just something to. It was such a specific, unique part of British culture, right? The idea of firms, the idea of that element of being a football fan is so. We see elements of it in other countries, but it was a very unique thing that I think was captured in that movie and has led to that movie being something that some people in my generation still look back on. Was that for you a big step forward, right? Almost a more...
It was. No, I mean, look, if you look at it, and us as actors, we get ink on the page. We have to bring these characters to life. And I was very lucky. I'll just go back to a little setback. I was very lucky that I didn't get given Shakespeare when I first started. I was given sort of heavies. The roles were quite easy because I understand that world, so it wasn't that challenging for me. It just meant I had to come and turn up and be as convincing as I can and just understand the ethics and the mechanics of making a film and the rules and regulations. But going on from that, getting the Football Factory, and this I'll say to people all the time, there's no such thing as a small role. Yeah. You could have one role, one scene in a movie and steal it. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's poignant. Yeah. And I think I only had, God knows how many, must be 200 scenes or something in a movie. I think I only had 8 scenes in that film, And probably the most memorable character there. Yeah. because the dialogue was great.
Yeah.
The scenes were great.
Yeah.
And he was the nemesis, right? He was the one that was after him. He didn't care. He wanted that man, and that man, he was going to do anything. The one that hurt your brother, he's coming after him, man.
Yeah.
Because he goes beyond football now. I'm coming for you. You was in my house, and you hit my brother over the head.
Yeah.
This is way beyond football now. I'm coming for you. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant the way Nick Love and the people that authenticated behind, so the real hoods, the real thugs who authenticated behind the scenes. I think they've done an amazing job of it, because years ago we used to watch football and they would start fighting in the terraces and the cameras used to turn, you could watch it. But then I think it was around about Thatcher's era when she said there's no more cameras, we can't glamorise it.
Yeah.
Because it's being glamorised, wasn't it? And they do a stop.
Went off telly, but it didn't go away.
Went off telly, but it didn't go away. And then I remember Millwall Luton, when they smashed up the terraces, and they got some big birds for that.
Right.
They got starting getting 8 years. I mean, listen, you get 8 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. It'd be very, very difficult to go away from football violence, unless you hurt a policeman or this. It was difficult. It was big fines, banned from the stadiums, banned from Europe and all that stuff. But, and then the government just said, we've had enough of this. And they're getting 6 and 8 years, what bank robbers used to get. Do you know what I mean? Just for smacking someone having a fight at football. So that was the deterrent. And then it kind of stopped. Ecstasy pills come along. People started falling in love. Right. And that stopped again for a little while. And then people started making meetings away from the terraces. Mm. You know, it was a way of life for them. And football violence is very different to villainy, thieving, or thinking about going to prison, because you have all walks of life as hooligans. I know, I've met them, I've known, I've sat with them, they've frequented my clubs and restaurants. Barbers, firemen, barristers, bouncers, surgeons, doctors. You know, being an island race as well, I think we're bred, we're territorial, we just want to fight. And that's what they did. They went and had a fight. And then they went home. I couldn't wait till next week. Well, they can go and have another fight. And that's all it was. You know, it was a way of life for them. It was a hobby. It wasn't like, look at me, I'm a football thug. You wouldn't even know they were football thugs.
And there was a huge community element to it as well.
You could be a football thug. As geeky as thing is, it doesn't matter, mate. Getting hit makes them feel alive. The challenge, the fear, all of that stuff, the adrenaline, that makes them feel alive. But it was a good adaptation. It's quite funny. It's called The Football Factory. You don't see one football in the film, do you?
No, it's true.
Funny,
True.
But I'm glad you enjoyed it. I mean, you portrayed it. I mean, let me give you another thing about that film. Even at the end, those boys behind me, 70% of them were real thugs, bushwhackers. Right. And the police were real police. And, you know, we actually spoke to them and said, look, they're all police, they're armed up, they've got all their riot gear on. Yeah, it can be hard for you to earn. But if you go in on them, they're going to go back in on you. And they're all like, great, they've had the agreement, and it's great. Like, can you imagine what police go for on patrol? They're getting spat at and sworn at. It's not so bad now, but back in the day it was bad. And I think they had an agreement, and then they just went at it. That last scene, they went at it. But 2 people got their arms broken. Yeah, they went at it, which kind of gave it that beautiful authenticity of a real street battle.
And so much of cinema too is sound as well. The noise of the scale of something like that. I want to kind of take that as almost a point of contrast then, because to me, from an acting perspective, when you have a role like that that's so grounded in a real working class part of English culture and kind of representing something that's already there, viewing that then in contrast to kind of an epic fantasy role like a Game of Thrones or a Clash of the Titans, which is a completely different scale, much more high production, but also more computer generated elements, and the costumes are completely different. You're kind of embodying a character much more on the fictional side. Did that require you to change your technique at all? You mentioned you weren't classically trained, but is approaching that role a different challenge?
100%. Now, there's nowhere to hide, is there? You have to now be an actor. And, you know, I read Stanislavski, I read quite a lot of acting books, and I'm going to be straight with you, I did not understand them. I didn't have a clue what they were going on about. And I quickly devised this, don't act, react.
Right.
And I started doing things like learning everybody else's lines before I learnt mine for freedom. And this is just things I picked up along the way from, I mean, if you think I've worked with everyone, from Richard Gere to Sir Ben Kingsley. Daniel Craig we did Layer Cake with Daniel. I love Daniel Craig, he's a good lad. Tom Hardy we just started off, me, Tom, him, Sienna. I mean, he launched a lot of stars, Matthew Vaughn, fair play to it, and so did Guy Ritchie. And I'm of that era. And Guy Ritchie was all for the untrained actor. He was a street caster. I don't think they do street casting now, but them days, I don't know if you ever heard the word street casting, that's what they did, and he went and he gave people a chance, which we're all grateful for.
Did you ever feel at any point that coming from the background you did and maybe the roles that were given to you at the start of your career, that there was a potential to be typecast, to kind of almost pigeonhole you as an actor? Obviously not something you were ever going for, but did you ever feel from directors that they would look at your voice, your kind of general personality, this history that you had in acting, and maybe put you in a box that you didn't feel that you deserved to be in?
Sure. First thing I want to say is us as actors, we don't believe in the word typecast, we believe in working. Okay. We have to work. And I get what you're saying, and it's fine, don't worry. I mean, it's like, would you call a striker for Man United? Typecast for scoring goals.
Better to be cast than,
He's employed to do that job. Sure. Now, if you look at the reality of it, is I got told, find your demographic, know what you got at, be honest with yourself, and hone it. Just there's some things I can do that other actors can't do. I have this funny saying, I'm too ugly to be the romantic lead, but that kind of just sways people away from the conversation. It's a long, boring conversation for me. I love being the villain. I adore being the villain because you get to shoot the guns, drive the cars, ride the horses, do the fights. You have to do all the fun stuff. I couldn't think of anything worse than sitting across a dinner table with a beautiful romantic female lead, reciting poetry and talking bollocks, pardon my French. It's not, that isn't for me. Sure. But saying that, do I just want to play the villain? 80% of me, yes. 20% of me says, you know what, I'd like to do a bit of Shakespeare. I want to do some comedy because people think I'm funny and I want to try something different, and I want to play an autistic kid, and I played a self-harmer. I played everything. So the fun side of the acting for me is playing a villain. And I always aim to create that worst screen villain ever. So now if you could grab something as iconic as Lex Luthor, you know.
Or the Joker, even.
Just going to say. Jack Nicholson. Even Jim Carrey. You know, these that era of actors, you know, when they create these amazing caricature comic strip, brings comics to life. I mean, how fucking amazing is that? You can bring a comic character to life and do it as good as Jack and Jim and Jack and Jim. So Jack and Jill, didn't it? Jack and Jim Carrey. I'm talking like I know him, but I don't. And Heath Ledger, of course, you know, and what a shame. What a shame. And this is the danger of our craft. You know, you can really embody that character to a point where you can't leave it. You can't let it go. And I've seen this happen. I mean, Christian Bale worked with him twice, and
great.
Wow, what a man. He's the only one I got silly around. I got melty around. I got really nervous around. I've worked with everyone because he's just a fucking god for me. He's a hero, mate. You know, and he's Welsh but raised in Bournemouth, and being that, going out there, taking the chance of what you put your body through, going from the Machinist to Batman, and he nearly died. You know that? Did you read up about it? He nearly died.
Weight loss, right?
He nearly died, mate. Now, you're taking your craft to that level, you deserve everything and more that comes your way. I spoke to some of the guys that was on that film, and they said he couldn't even come out of character in lunch. He would go home in his wardrobe and his makeup, and he would, at dinner, he's talking, never come out of it.
Wow.
That's unhealthy.
For sure. So there's a balancing to that, right?
There's a balancing to it.
To being able to look at your friends and family and separate, and in many ways, I would think, not knowing that, being able to have that separation would enhance both, right? It's a difficult skill, but to almost delineate those two roles would improve from the ability to do that.
I'm all for method acting. I'm all for it. I won't play drunk. I need to get drunk. Like, it's the word. You've seen actors that try and play drunk when they're not drunk. It just doesn't work for me.
Right.
So I'll go, listen, the drunk scene, keep it to the end of the day. Right. Give me an hour, I'll down some vodka or whatever and come back and I'm a little bit tipsy. And we go and do it. I'm all for that. But I can literally be an American character.
Yeah.
Director called cut. Sweet, good, brilliant. Yeah. The minute he says cut, I can go straight back into me.
Right. And that's something that when you maybe first started acting, you would have not thought that would be in your range of skills.
No. Who knows what range I had? You don't know what range you've got until you get on a film set and shoot a movie. A bricklayer can sit in a classroom and build the most immaculate wall in that classroom ever.
Yeah.
Get masters, distinctions, even become a teacher. But until you go on a building site and build a house, you're not a bricklayer.
Yeah. Until you go to the Monaco Grand Prix, are you really an F1 writer?
There you go.
I'm fascinated to talk. You mentioned your life as an entrepreneur before. Yeah. How does sports.com come into that life? What's the day that you hear about it, and what made you think this is something that is not just going to be something that I've heard about, but something that I want to be in?
It's not, sports.com is not something that was presented to me and I decided to invest in it or be a part of it. I started working with Matt McGahn and Naz and various other team members who you've met in the office, our office in London, Savile Row. I knew Matt not as well as I know him now. We're literally like brothers, as you can see, me and Matt. But I met him a few times because he was Mr. F1. They were rock stars down there, what they were doing. And what
bikes.
Yeah, his bikes, and he's Harley Davidson stuff, and his wonderful father. And what they used to do, and I got invited onto his boat a few times as a celebrity guest. I hate that fucking word, celebrity, but you got to use it, or as his guest.
Yeah.
And it never happened, but then sadly, when COVID hit, his father passed away from COVID, and he reached out to me through a mutual friend, and we reconnected, and he said, I'm going to set up a charity called Mask Our Heroes, which was basically me and Matt raising money for PPE, buying it or stealing it, because that's what he used to do. I was just going to steal it and give it back to the NHS, and I don't care.
Yeah, because you're stealing it from people that should be giving it away.
I will not allow you to charge £5 for a mask that costs you half a p.
For sure.
When these nurses are dying. Yeah. Won't do it. So I lied to them. I cheated. I just robbed them and just give them back. And we did that. It was called Mask Our Heroes, and we started moving towards that. And I was kind of burnt out with the acting. I mean, I've done 50, 60 titles. We're really, really busy at one stage. And the pandemic come and the lockdown come, and I was like, I'm always away from home. People think acting's very glamorous. It's not. It's very lonely. Yeah. There's a lot of table for one, and there's a lot of missing your family and stuff, and missing your children growing up. And I just thought, you know what, they locked me down for 3 months. Well, this is great. And then I started going into the office, and I started pulling my ear towards these corporate deals that Matthew's doing, and Naz and everyone in the office. And I kind of, I was actually sitting there because of the charity, but now I started listening. Then I started hearing them saying things like, oh God, we've lost this deal, we've lost that deal, they're just about to close. And then I think it wasn't planned. It was like, okay, this deal's come along. Oh, West Ham. And then I go, oh, West Ham, so what do we know about a football club? I forget the football club, but you get the park, you get this, you get that, blah, 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 blah. And I started, what goes on in my head that comes out of my mouth, you wouldn't understand it. So I needed Robbie Williams hit the nail on the head. He said, Tamer's always needed an adult. Yeah. I need an adult to configure it, and Matt was my adult. Right. So we're the same, I think I'm 6 months older, but he was my adult. Right. So I would say something, we're sitting there, and I'd just chat, and I go, what about that? And everyone goes, and they go, hang on, he's got a point. I decided to get back into, to do the corporate stuff, and I was sitting there and listening to things, and then I think, I'll bring a deal. I heard this one said it, because I can get into any door, and I always believe, I've been taught from very young. My mum used to say it to me, first and foremost, son, people need to like you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not likable, you're never going to sit at someone's table.
Yeah.
You're never going to do business with you. You need to have the likable factor, and I think I've got that. I think I'll get on with people. People say you can't get on with Tamer, you can't get on with me. But listen, I can be a tyrant. I can be like anyone else. But generally, I'm nice and I'm polite, and I'm easy to get on with, and I'm easily pleased as well.
Sure.
So then these deals started happening, working, and Matt's kind of started looking after me as well because I didn't want to act.
Yeah.
I was kind of done with it. Do you know what I mean? He's like, "Look, you got to get to work," and then the fans started saying stuff. When you're going to get in a film, when you're going to do, and the films that are out there were crap. And when you've kind of created a British, how can I put a cult sector of movies, like before me there was Long Good Friday, The Italian Job, Mona Lisa, those sort of films with Bob Hoskins, Ray Winston and Sir Michael Caine.
Yeah.
And then I think we come along, me and Danny, with The Football Factory, Layer Cake Business, Dead Man Running, Bonded by, that little era of movies.
Yeah.
Which everybody really enjoyed and loved, and
it was speaking to a group of people that art wasn't speaking to before, right? It was giving them a fictional world to dive into that they could see themselves represented in when they were in other places.
Yes, correct. Because film is entertainment, isn't it? Film, you should be able to go into the theatre and just drift off into a world of what you're seeing and just forget about life for 2 hours. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it is. You're just a peeping Tom looking into somebody else's life.
And in many ways, sport can be a similar thing.
Of course it can. And sport is a similar thing because, we all aspire to do good. We all aspire to be the better versions of ourselves and make our parents proud. I think those are the two fundamental things in any person's life, is do better for yourself and make your parents proud. If you've got that privilege of having parents, because a lot of people haven't. But anyway, so going back to the corporate stuff, then I started, getting involved in stuff and bringing deals to the table and getting involved, and Matt was teaching me the way, and we got there, and then sports.com come along, and I was like, seriously? Sports.com? And it's like, no, but it's like, how isn't sports.com already ingrained on this planet?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying here?
It's a missed opportunity, right?
Right, and it's just sitting there, and he's like, that's been sitting on the shelf, and I went, oh, you just bought that? And no, it comes with the company. Or so he was saying. I went, what is it? He went, it's nothing. I was like, surely it's a streaming platform, right? He said, nope.
Right.
So, do you see what I'm saying? And then there was an opportunity here.
That's when the light bulb goes off.
Oh, it blew up. It exploded. It was like, so we now have something, and in my head, and I'm thinking, I've got to put this to the test, and I test things differently. KYC, I don't Google, but that's not me. That's for them to. That's the mechanics of the office. I do things like, I can't see. I go, how you doing, mate? And first thing, what are you up to? I go, I've just bought sports.com, and nobody said, what's that?
Yeah.
They all went, no way, really? I said, yeah, we've got it. I'm a shareholder. I'm an ambassador. I'm the voice and the face of certain sectors of it. Yeah. And they go, oh, congratulations. Do you see what I'm saying? So then I come back and say, listen, this is a gift from the gods.
It has to happen.
This has to go, because this cannot not go.
Yeah.
And with the technology, we've got Web 1, 2, 3, moving forward, metaverses, NFTs, gaming, the geek, tell me what they're called.
The verticals. Is that?
VR.
Oh, virtual reality.
Yeah, all of that stuff going in and bringing every aspect of sport to the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, to be at home internationally as well, beyond just a British market.
Gaming, stats, rooms, chat rooms, it's just all there. And we have the technology moving forward now in the space of geek world or tech world, call it what you want. To make this a reality. Yeah.
And sorry, a big part of what Matt mentioned we're kind of looking for this week was to find partners, right? And what he looks for in those partners is someone he can trust with the idea and that he can trust to maximise the potential of that opportunity.
Of course.
So when you're someone, for example, coming on the boat this week, you meet them for the first time, how are you almost sussing that out, right? How are you kind of looking to the core of someone's character and knowing that that's someone you feel you can entrust with joining the business?
You probably see me sit quiet watching everyone, right?
Yeah.
I'm the guy that people know, so I'm the one that will get introduced. Hi, this is Tamer, he's our ambassador, he's a shareholder, blah, blah, blah. Hi, how you doing? Good, yeah. I never ask for money, never ask, sit back and wait.
Yep.
And that is for Matt to decide whether they are the right people to invest. Because I think something like this isn't about the money.
Yeah.
We can find money. There's a lot of money in our circle. It's about finding the right partners, i.e. Majid, Darren, Live Sports. Those guys, not only do they have an abundance of wealth, probably more than anyone in the world, Majid is an amazing ambassador and a representative and a face of sports.com because of his past. He has an amazing story. And, you know, you could look at him and go, oh, he's a prince. He comes from... No, he doesn't. He doesn't. He works his way up. He's a people's champion, which is always good.
Yeah.
And the people at the top with the money can see this. That man's a people's champion. You know, you've got... And he understands sport. So to have someone like him, it's an honour, a privilege, and we're so lucky. Rather than having somebody that's a multi-billionaire that sees the potential to make money and says, I want to invest 100 million, what's my return? It isn't about that.
Yeah.
It's about creating the right team. And what Matt, I haven't said to Matt yet because I sit back and I start thinking about things. And with something like this, I do believe that, yes, the boat, coming on the boat, it's been amazing. You cocoon all these people into this confined space.
Yeah.
It fast becomes a big brother house. Fast becomes a nut house. And I'm a great believer of, you want to get to know someone, live with them, go on a road trip with them. And sit with them 24 hours because your cracks will start showing and so it is.
For sure.
And if your cracks and his cracks or her cracks don't match, then it's done, it's over. And it was the best thing to do. And I think, again, us in that office, we're very creative and we work organically. We let things happen. We don't try to be too regimented.
Yeah.
By saying, this is the strategy, this is what we're going to, this is how we're going to execute. We kind of go, what do you think?
Yeah.
Let's see if it works. But with this sports.com, I don't think you have that luxury. I think you need to get the team right from the off because a kink in the armour could collapse it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many strings to the bow, can I use that? Or so many, what's the word I'm looking for? Say it.
That's a good question. I don't
Strings to the bow. There's so many. There's so many elements in this. In this this whole equation that has
in
to.
the wall.
Yeah, it has to fit right. And if you get one that slips out, it could collapse like a house of cards. That's what I believe. And I'm going to have a chat with Matt, and this is an exclusive because Matt even said, I believe that sports.com should create businesses within a business. I believe that Matt and Naz and myself and, you know, Barney and whoever else is at the top, they're kind of making decisions. It's going to be too much of a monster. It's going to be a huge. I mean, could 4 people run Sky? No. Could 4 people run BBC Sport? Could 4 people run ITV?
No, it's stretched too thin.
So what makes you think 4 people can run sports.com? It's a global platform. So this is my next conversation for Matt. Is Matt, let's create businesses within the businesses. Give people a business. Okay, media. Shelley, amazing. Shelley, this is yours.
Yep.
That's your core. That's your, rather than a title that you have to come back and the guys make the decision. That's your responsibility. If it collapses, let it go. It doesn't affect the mothership.
Yep.
Let it collapse. If it collapses, it goes. That business is gone. We say it's like a high street.
Yeah.
If one shop works, it doesn't matter. Do you see what I'm saying? If that shop shuts down, it's not going to affect the street, is it? Because somebody else will come in.
So you're protected through that diversification.
You're protected for it. Yeah, that's well said. So we're protecting it that way. I'm going to have this conversation. But Matt's great. Matt's one of the guys that goes, no, definitely not. And he goes, funny you should say that. I was just talking to someone about that.
Yeah.
But that's Matt, which is great, you know, because and if you're a leader, that's how you should be, because you can't allow anybody, even if he's your general and your brother, to go, that was my idea.
Yeah.
Especially they put it down and write it. Suppose they send you an email. I mean, so you just got to be very careful about that.
Yeah.
But I think that's the way forward for it. I'm no expert and I could be completely wrong, but I know, and this is a big statement, sports.com is going to be the biggest sporting platform ever.
Fantastic. Well, let's make it happen.
Ever. We're going to make it happen. So,
Absolutely.
fans first, sports.com, right to the palm of your hands.
Thank you very much for joining me, Tamer.
Thank you.